polysphere. Because that is got to be the best sphere I've ever seen in all my life. It's just, that is a sexy sphere. It's perfect. I mean, look at it. It's
so round.
It's so spherical.
I want to marry it.
Did you say it's like America?
I want to marry it.
You want to marry it?
It's so perfect.
Just want to curl into a little ball next to it and
Yeah.
These spheres together.
snuggle, right? It's okay.
You're kissing and I'm driving.
And you're probably thinking, has he gone insane?
Slightly.
I might have been to go ahead.
I thought that last class.
Honestly, though, I swear I don't even know how I got home last class. I was so, remember the huge trouble I was having in fixing Mark's mesh last class? I didn't even notice the legs were all screwed up, right? That's how out of it I was. It literally took me 10 minutes to fix once that craziness went away. I slept for like 2 days after that class. Yeah, it was an evil, evil illness.
Now you recovered.
Ugh, I'm glad I recovered too.
Now.
And it's up and up from here. Okay, ready for the magic?
Yeah.
We're going to take this sphere and we're going to make it more awesome.
Oh.
All right. What I'm going to show you guys how to do is basically going to be the technique you will use to go forth and make your character speak. There's more. Yeah, I know. You can make that happen. All right. You too can make awesome faces with your
Down
character.
payment of
All right.
$29.95.
Sit down with 10 easy payments. $5.99.
Archibald.
That's the longest number.
That needs to be a little more like a .com, right?
No, it's a
Except no one would go to it because they couldn't spell it.
Right.
I'd have like, 200 people from Quebec and like 3 from France and no one else, right?
It's like it's only flashing on the screen for like a
And
split
then they'd be
second.
all related to me too. They'd be like, "Good job." Like, all right, here we go.
100.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna call this most amazing sphere something that will make sense to us.
I'm ready.
You're ready, yeah.
There we go. Most amazing sphere. That's the name of my base mesh. Yours may be, Dare Man. Yours may be Superman. Yours may be Poofy Pants. Just right as you were drinking too. That was awesome. It doesn't matter. What we need to know though is we need to stay on top of our naming and rigging so things don't sneak up on us. And I'm like, what the hell is polycube number 5? I have no idea. Right? We always want to stay on our naming convention. In this case, since it is the most amazing sphere, I'm giving that as the base name. This is going to be my base geometry, okay? This is essentially your geometry completed. It doesn't need to be edited anymore. It needs nothing. It exists. It's happy. It loves life. It sits in the center of the world, its own calm center, right? It is vitally important, all joking aside, it is vitally important that you do not edit your geometry at this point. It needs to be done. It needs to be finished, okay? So if you have said like, oh, I want to tweak that thing on the arm, if anything, right? If one vertex gets screwed up, it's going to screw up your life at this point, okay? So in this case, most amazing sphere. It's perfect already, right? So we're good. We're good to go. That's step 1. Make sure geometry fine, okay? Step 2 is going to be Control D to duplicate it a bunch of times. And you don't have to follow this with your character because it wouldn't necessarily correspond anyways. All right. Now, each of these duplicate spheres I've just made, I'm going to want to make a hypothetical face, right? You're like, what kind of face is that? In the case of this sphere, he doesn't really have a face. He is a face. So I'm going to choose directions instead of phonemes, right? You guys all know what phonemes are, right? Please say yes.
Yes.
Possibly.
Do you really, though?
Yes.
Nope.
No.
Yes.
All right. How many of you guys had animation? Okay, your teacher needs to be crunched.
I said yes.
Okay. Phonemes are how we animate facial,
Oh, that.
the face. Okay.
Oh,
A
face.
phoneme is a visual representation of a mouth shape, right? And there's actually there is also a scientific version of phoneme. If you type in phoneme on Wikipedia, it'll give you the scientific rundown of it. But as far as animation is concerned, it's basically a mouth shape that makes a sound when you see it. It corresponds to the sound. So it's always going to, my mouth is always going to go when I make it, maybe not quite that extreme, but it's always going to form that because it has to in order for me to make that sound. B, those are both pressed lip sounds. So having a mouth that's closed is going to make sense for that. Has its own sound. It's basically the jaw dropping and me vocalizing, right? All of these different sounds that we use to make speech have a corresponding visual representation in the form of a phoneme. That said, our sphere does not have a face with which to make phonemes. So we're going to choose directions. Up, right, left, down. Okay? So with my base mesh here, with all the transforms frozen, you guys see that, right? It's all zeroed out and the scale is all at once. Thank you for responding. These ones are my duplicates. Now these duplicates, I do not want the translate, rotate, or scale. I do not want it changed. I want it to stay as it is. If values pop up here, they need to be left alone. Because if they are not left alone, it's also going to screw up my blend shapes. Okay? So we need translate. Essentially, this translate data here is telling him where his home is. It's telling him where he belongs. Okay? So I can go home, little sphere, and he goes right back to where he should be, right? We need that in order for this to work. Do we have a whiteboard marker here? I'd like to just explain how this works.
It's bring your own markers.
This is, I know, since I stopped bringing my damn bag, I always forget to take the marker out of the bag that I usually take. All right, I'm going to use MS Paint to illustrate this. I know, but it'll load fast, unlike mine. Okay.
MS Paint like a boss.
Like a boss.
Like a mouse.
Deborah's desk. That's all I have to say. Okay, so crap. Maybe I should know how to use that. There it is. Maybe it's this page. Okay, so we're going to say that's vertex number 1. Okay, and this exists on my really wobbly drawn, most amazing sphere ever, now reduced to a really crappy looking oval, or kind of a tomato really. It's got a little crease. Okay, so we're looking at this vertex, right? And it's number 1. Okay, our duplicate is hanging out over here. He's like, hey, I'm Mr. Duplicate, and he's off in space. That's why he's tiny. Don't criticize. Now, in order for our blend shapes to work, these need to correspond. If you change this mesh and delete history, it will go from 1 to orange. Not literally, but that's kind of how Maya does things. When you edit topology, the verts get renumbered, right? And it goes, I don't know anymore. Because all we are doing when we create these shapes, is we are saying this initial point, this is the starting point, right? We'll call this start.
You must be having a hard time with that.
You try writing with the bar, so. Okay. On our duplicate, we're going to change this model. What it does is it looks at, say, in this case, vertex 1, and it's going to say, here's its starting point. In your duplicate, it's going to be over here. So it's going to say, okay, move over here, please. And it's going to move over there, right? In order for it to work, it needs to maintain that correlation between those verts. If you modify your geometry, I just cannot emphasize this enough, it'll go like this. And your mesh is going to go, and it's going to blow up in your face, and you're going to go, Jonathan, can you fix it? And I'm going to go, nope. You should have listened. So make sure your geometry is handled. All right? Can't stress that. Now, blend shapes are really cool for facial animation and stuff because they don't rely on complex skill sets to make. Essentially, the same tools you use in a modeling class are going to be the tools you use to make your blend shapes and to make your face shapes, right? So, assuming you actually did make it to rigging, I have to imagine you had 1 or 2 modeling classes, preferably 2. In one of those classes, I'm sure you learned what vertices are, right? That's what we're going to be editing to make our face shapes, right? So let's create our spheres phonemes so you can actually see this in practice, and then we'll move on to Superman. So each of these duplicates right now have really crappy names. Most Amazing Sphere 1, Most Amazing Sphere 2, Most Amazing Sphere 3 and 4. Not ideal. What we actually want are these to correspond with the face shape. So in the case of phonemes, you would have an duplicate. You might have a duplicate. You might have an duplicate, an S duplicate, an R duplicate, right? It's going to correspond with that phoneme. In our case, we said we were going to do up, down, right, left. So this duplicate's going to now be called up. This one's going to be called, let's do right. And this one's going to be called left. And this one's going to be called down. Okay? Now, I'm really not going to spend too much time on this. So, here's up. Okay? Here's right. Remember, it's always from the character side, or you criticize. Here's left. And here's down. Okay? Doesn't matter where these guys go. So, what you do is, once you got all of your faces created, and I'm going to ask you guys to make 8. You select them, one by one, and then the last one you're going to select is your base geometry. Make sure the last one you select is the base geometry, because that's the one it's going to operate on. Okay? And you're going to go up in your animation menu set to Create Deformers, Blend Shape, top one, go to the little option box, okay? And here you can give it a name. I like to call it something like Faces, so I know what to look for, okay? The default values are fine. Create. Now, on my base geometry, I have an input called Faces, okay? If I click on that, I now have envelope, or envelope, up, right, down, left. And if I click on one of these and raise the value, it's going to change my base mesh. I can blend these as well. Because all this is a set of instructions for where those verts need to go. Okay? Alright. And that's how we're going to animate faces. Simple, right? Not rocket science. It's magical. Now, there is something I do want to point out before it happens. Do not do this when you create it. Select one of the ones you created, select the base geometry, create blend shape. Select the next one, select the base geometry, blend shape. Select the next one, select the base geometry, and create blend shape. It's going to look like it works just fine. But what you're going to find is it starts building up an excessive number of inputs. And on the surface, it looks like it's A-OK, because it's like, oh, well, look, this one's just up, this one's just right, and this one's just left, right? But there's 2 issues with that. One is it's building up junk data we don't need. And the other thing is, actually, I shouldn't have undid that. God, forsaken, stupid me. The other issue with doing this is going to be as far as clarity for an animator or anyone else. If I go up here to Window, I have this thing, this section called Animation Editors, and one of them on this list is Blend Shape. Now the cool thing about this list is I don't have to have anything selected for this list to pop up. But here's the problem. You see how we have to scroll up and down this big long list to find these sliders? That's kind of a pain in the ass. So, all right. So I'm going to select them one by one again, and we're going to do the same thing again. Blend shapes only have one node, faces. I'm going to deselect, go to Window, Animation Editor, Blend Shape. And isn't that a little bit easier to look at? Quite a bit, right? So, it's less memory for your rig to have to deal with, which ultimately will make your rig faster. And B, it's a hell of a lot neater in case you need to work with it. So just make sure you select all of your phonemes and the last one being your base geometry to do this. All right, so let's look at a practical example of how we could do this using that Superman model. Okay, so here's my Superman model. Hypothetically, he's got a full set of joints, but right now he's paraplegic. Right? Can't use his legs.
It's released.
Nothing is bound. Oh, crap.
But Superman.
Look at all of that modeling.
Jesus.
Look at all of that modeling history that I have. That's a crap load of history I just don't need. So let me just, right off the bat, before I take one tiny, minute step forward, let me get rid of that history. So first of all, just for good practice, I'm going to make sure he's at 000. Because I don't trust it anyways, I'm still going to go freeze transform because, you know, I'm a doubter. And I'm going to go edit, delete by type, history. Ah, I can breathe again. Right? Let's call it something that we can understand. So Superman Geo in this case, right? And now I'm going to duplicate him. Now it's absolutely, positively important that his teeth and his tongue are attached. They have to be polygons mesh combined with the body mesh, right? In the case of you who have heads as separate objects, it's going to be the head as a separate object. If you want less headache, combine it with the friggin' body. Okay?
Polygon mesh.
The only thing I don't want combined are the eyes. Alright? And so you can see here my eyes are separate. Alright. So I'm going to select my mesh, Control D, move it off to the side. Control D, move it off to the side. Control D, move it over here. Control D, etc. Okay?
How many faces did you say we have?
I'm asking you to do a minimum of 8. Using the power of the internet again, because, you know, I just can't seem to get enough of it. I'm going to find you guys a chart that's pretty easy. I'm pretty sure I have 2 on my hard drive here, but because I'm lazy and I don't want to look through it, let's just try and find it on the net again. Phonemes. There's a phoneme mount chart right there. It's kind of a horrible example, but this will give you... it's not a horrible example because it sucks. It's a horrible example because it's a little bit more cartoony than you probably need. So what I would say is use these mouth shapes as a starting point, right? Say, okay, well there's an a f, an e, a p, b, I, la, o, etc. Right? So if you know these exist and you can recognize what those are because you can make them with your own face, what you do is you find one of the ones you're working on, grab a mirror, look at it, make the mouth shape, and have your model correspond with that better than this. Because this is 2D, right? We can get away with crap here. In 3D, we're going to actually go around that object. If it was just perfectly flat like this, it would look very bizarre. Right? So I'm going to save this for you guys. And all I'm asking for is 8 of these. It's really not a lot. I'm not asking you to kill yourself. It sounds like I'm asking you for a lot, but when I show you right now, you're going to realize it's easy breezy. The harder part's going to be the other stuff I've asked you for. Photoshop isn't an Autodesk product. Why would I do that? It's just like the icon. They saved it as a PNG, in case you're wondering. That's why I'm fixing it. Because I don't know about you guys, but on my home system, by default, PNG opens with fireworks. And when I accidentally click it, it drives me batty. So I'm just going to fix that for you in advance. Oh, that's interesting. It won't let me open new. That's new function. All right. There it is. Save as JPEG. JPEGs are the devil, by the way, everyone.
Whoa, buddy.
They are the devil because they're lossy format, but they do have their uses. So,
Satan is real.
what's that?
Satan is real.
What?
Maya.
Do you say second to Maya?
Satan is real and its name is Maya.
No, he said second.
Oh, second to Maya. Okay, fair enough. All right, I'm going to bring this guy up here. I'm going to call this the mouse. It's kind of like having the O face. This time we're doing the face. Face. Okay. Huh?
Real saw.
It's goose from. So I'm going to right click on this guy, choose vertex. Oh wait, before I do that, I want to turn on soft selection. So I double click on my move tool here. We're going to be using rotate, but it'll turn on for both. And under soft selection, I'm going to click it on. I want to make sure it's set to surface. I'm going to show you what it's set to by default and why it's stupid. So if I leave it at default, which is volume, and I click one of these verts, it's going to do this. That is some tasty gum I have. Nom, 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 nom. Right? Not so good.
Pretty good.
If I switch it to surface, now I can isolate one side of the lips. See that? Because it's actually flowing along the surface with distance. Yeah? I'll switch it again. Volume. Nom, nom, nom,
Wait,
nom.
what's that again?
Surface.
Surface.
Okay? Got it? Somebody say something. Let me believe it.
That's it.
Yes,
All right,
that's
got it. All right. Next step is actually breaking this down as a problem. Okay. I want to make an mouse shape. So I have to kind of consider what an mouse shape is, or in the case of Joey, a yawn mouth shape. And really what it is basically, it's okay. And really what it is it's going to get worse. Know that now. What it is basically opening your mouth, right? It's like the jaw coming down, right? Which is essentially a rigid structure with flexy bits on top of it, right? So your jaw hinges from right here. So when we do an mouth, we don't want the teeth to hang out in place like they are, because right now the teeth are right on top of each other, like they're clenched, right? If the jaw comes down, the teeth hang out, it's going to be very bizarre. So we definitely want to select the entire mesh in this. But look, it's attached. It looks like a nightmare. It looks like a mess, right? If you look at the shapes, you can actually make out the teeth. That's the top teeth, right? And if you look at this 90-degree angle here, with this kind of curving thing, you can see that's the bottom teeth. All I need to do is select one vert from the bottom teeth in order to select the whole thing. Because I want the teeth to come along with the jaw. What else might I want to come along with the jaw? The tongue. So I'm going to do the exact same treatment to the tongue. And you can see it's this mess right there, right? So let's start with the teeth. I'm going to grab one single vert. And I'm actually going to turn off soft selection for a second here, so you can see. So you see how I have one selected, right? Okay. Shift greater than grows a selection in Maya. So if I just grow the selection to the extent I can grow it, I've now selected the entire bottom teeth shape. Okay, let's try that on the tongue. So I just shift select a point on the tongue. Bam, done. Okay, that's step one. Those pieces of geometry that have to come along for the ride, we have to select them absolutely. If we don't, they're going to contort and go weird, and it's going to screw up our faces. Okay, so I'm going to hit 5 to get shaded view. Nothing's showing. If I turn off soft selection, oops, not reflection. If I turn on soft selection, you'll notice nothing gets highlighted. Right now it's set to surface. Volume, the devil, surface. Only the teeth and the tongue, right? All right. I am going to select some key areas. So obviously, I'm going to shift click in the middle here because I want this bit of the lip to come with me for the ride. And I'm going to look at the fall off here, right? I'm going to start just by moving this to see what kind of impact it has. And that actually looks pretty decent as far as soft selection. So by default, 5 is kind of working out. If it wasn't, I would raise or lower this number here. And try and think of it like heat. The closer to black it gets, the closer it is to the edge of the light, right? The edge of the candle flame. But the closer it is to the hot point, the more it is to the absolute. So orange is a little bit less, red is a little bit less than orange, etc. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. It's like my token response guy. I love it. All right, so I'm going to bring this back to 5. Actually, you know what? It did look a little better. Maybe 4.31 wasn't bad. Actually, change my mind. If you can hold down Control, you can actually click drag in here to do little values too. Right? If I hold down Control, I can just click like right here, and it'll do tiny values. All right, let's see that. All right, we'll see if we can work with this. What I like about this is it actually does fall off at the corner of the mouth almost entirely. So I can now actually choose the bony regions of my face. Places that I absolutely want to get selected, like say the bottom of the chin. I just want to make sure that as I select them symmetrically. So I'm going to choose the jawline because the jaw does not flex despite what some people think. Mealy-mouthed little bastards, they think. All right, let's have a look at this. Okay. I'm going to select over here a little more of the chin. It's got a pretty strong chin, actually. It's pretty. I guess he's Superman, but. All right. I'm going to choose down here. And what I'm doing is I'm just looking at that heat I was telling you about to try and determine where I'm going to select. Okay. That might be too much. Maybe I need to lower it. Let's try lowering it. All right, that's a bit better. All right, cool. So, I got my verts selected on this guy. Just want to make a few final selections here. Now I need to hinge the jaw. Here's the issue. We're using translate. How do we get that kind of, like that subtle little rotation there, right? It seems impossible because if I switch to the rotate tool, the middle of the selection is going to be where it tries to rotate from, which in this case is somehow hidden. Kind of begs the question, what the hell's going on? Weird. Uh-oh. We have something else selected here. Okay. Actually, I can still work with it like this, believe it or not. Usually what it'll do, though, is it'll throw it to the center of selection. Necessarily, this isn't really going to help us. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to a side view. I'm going to hit F to frame my selection. Let me get this out of the way so you can see. And what I do is I hit Insert with my Rotate tool selected. And I'm going to pull this up to where the jaw hinges. So like right here. Right about here, actually. Okay? When I hit Insert again, it's just going to temporarily change the pivot of the tool. And I can now move the jaw. So, it's going to stay in place too. So now, let's go like this. Magic! Alright, I'm going to select these two bits right here. I'm going to go back to my soft selection. I'm going to dumb it way down. And I'm just going to, use my modeling prowess to make this make sense. Right? So now this is going to be my mouse, right? So, what if I wanted to do a mouth or something, right? So, sound like a cat getting all pissed. So I'm going to select kind of along this upper lip here. And I'm kind of doing even spacing. I might want to ramp up my soft selection again, so raise it up a little bit more. Okay. Uh-oh. Crap. This is actually my bad on the topology. So I'm going to fix this. I thought it was completely fixed, but this should have been merged with that guy right there. God damn it. There's always one hiding, huh? All right. So I'm going to call this my mouth. So when I'm done with this, I'm going to select this one, then this one, and then the base geometry. When in doubt, cheat it out. Now, when in doubt, in this case, try and find the grid, 000. So it's this one. So once again, go back to animation menu, create deformer, blend shape, faces, create, and animation, blend shape. There's my mouth, there's my Got it?
Yes.
All right. So eight of those guys is what I'm looking for by next week. I believe in my criteria. I say it must be a realistic representation of a mouth shape. You like that? It must be a realistic representation of a mouth shape, believably so. I'm going to say as long as it doesn't look like they're all the M mouths, and as long as it looks like you actually tried, I will assume that you've given it a fair shot, and I will give you credit for it. If you try and slough it, however, that's where we're going to have problems. So it doesn't have to be the best in the world. Just
Try.
That's exactly. Just do me the favor of not sucking horribly. All right? Okay. And now I have to fix this guy again. I'm kind of getting sick of Superman myself. This is how Lex Luthor was made. Stray verts.
He was reading the Superman model. It's like this. No.
I'm already a redhead. I just need to go bald and I'm good to go. All right. Who was it that told me they're trying to get that kid with curly hair to play Lex Luthor?
No, there you go.
Jesse
He
Eisenberg?
is. He's going to.
He's going to?
Yeah.
Jesse Eisenberg?
Yeah.
Jesse Eisenberg.